Hello. The other day I was in a meeting. It was, I guess, a religious meeting. We do some training in prisons, and we bring out a spiritual message, and then at the end we offer people a chance to be saved and do some of our programs that we have. But one of the people in the class came up to me and said, he said, "I'm a Muslim." He says, "This is not for me, right? I'm a Muslim." And so I thought to myself for a second, because people have this preoccupation with dividing things out by categories, different denominations. So it's like, I'm a Catholic, or I'm a Baptist, I'm a Presbyterian, I'm a Seventh Day Adventist, or I'm a Muslim, I am a Buddhist, I am whatever. And so I asked the question. I said, "Well," I said, "do you have a mother? And do you think your mother is the best mother in the world?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I also think my mother is the best mother in the world too. But we're not going to fight about that. What we have here is a mother experience. And just as you have a God experience and I have a God experience, we look at what God teaches us. Okay? The God that I serve tells me that I shouldn't steal, I shouldn't kill, I shouldn't um, covet people, I shouldn't hate people. Does your God not say the same thing? The God that I serve tells me that I should love myself, that I should look at my body as a temple that He's living in. What about you? The God that I serve tells me that when I walk in the land, I should respect authority and live under His word and say what He says and do what He wants me to do to make my life better. What about you? You see, the point I wanted to make was, if you're living under an attitude that comes from observing the tenets of your religion, and you look at that and you say, "Look, my religion tells me to love myself, to love my enemies, to take care of my body, to learn from His word, to follow His laws, to do the things that make my life work," and they're working. I'm not sick. I'm not broke. I'm not in a bad relationship. I'm not worrying about going to jail. I'm not come out of jail. Not going to worry about, you know, things that not within my control, because I know that all I got to do is serve Him, and if I follow His ways, then I get the results of a better life. And so, if you have a way of doing something that works for you based on what you've learned, like if your if your father taught you something and it worked for you, then you could go out and you could become an expert in that field. Like someone could say, for example, that their father taught them how to play the piano, and he made sure that they studied the chords and they studied the songs and they rehearsed all the time. Then they went out and then they became uh, whatever, maybe a concert performer, or in a band, or a teacher, or whatever it is. But you can say, where did you learn this from? I learned it from my father. My father taught me the principles and the law of this thing. And so now you go out and you do the same thing. You teach what your father taught you. And there's nothing wrong with that, because the Bible tells us that we should go into the world and make disciples of all nations and to teach. And so if you look at that and you say, okay, now is it saying to us that we have to go out and establish churches or to bring people into the church? If you look into what is called the Great Commission, you will not see it. It said When I see that, it says that you should go out into the world and bring people into the church and have them sit down and listen to a guy give a sermon. Okay. What it says is you should go into all the world and make disciples of all nations. And so what that means is that if you learn something and it's something that is real and something that is effective, you're by necessity or responsible necessity to go out into the world and to teach that to people to make their lives shine as well. Okay, because if I have something that is not of my own making and it's from my Father, and I know it's a real thing, it's a good thing, and it benefits me, then I'm going to, by necessity of just respect for what is done for me, go out and tell people how it's going to work for them as well. Now, people who don't respect themselves and don't respect others will do that. They'll tell you, "Oh yeah, smoke this cigarette. Have sex with this person. Go out there and sow your wild oats, or use this language, listen to this music, watch these TV shows where people are shooting each other all the time." And if you think about that, then you look back and say, "Well, that's not coming from the source that I get my energy from, nor does it come from yours." If you study um, a religion and you look at the tenets of the religion, you understand that there is a method that is supposed to be applied, and it's not. Okay, people tend to go by their own emotions, and they say, "Well, you know what? I was hungry, and so I stole something, and I got away with it. And now I became a thief." Or I was mad at somebody and I lashed out, and it felt pretty good, so now I'm gonna do it often. Or I liked the girl and we ended up in bed together, and now I'm gonna try to find another girl because I felt so good, and I should just many girls that I can because it felt so good. But if you look into the scriptures and look at don't look at it as okay trying to put me down and make me not have fun in life. It's about making your life shine. If I avoid smoking cigarettes, I'm not going to worry about like this whole thing going on with the vaping. Okay, they're trying to find a less you know harmful way of smoking, so they start vaping. But the Bible says your body is a temple. So if I learned from my father that my body is a sacred place, which means it's set aside for a purpose, then I'm going to take care of my body always. I'm not going to say, okay, every now and then I'm going to do something that's going to hurt it. Now, again, if you want some cake and cookies and candy, that's up to you. But the point is, if you're someone who says to yourself, I am wanting to live a good life, then I don't even make these things a choice. It's better for you not to even have these things than to say I'll have them sometimes. Or I'll watch a little bit of porn sometimes. I'll get mad at someone sometimes. I'll steal sometimes. So I'll steal from my job. I'll use their equipment for personal reasons, or I'll take something that's not really supposed to be taken. I'll take it home. The attitude of doing something one time and getting away with it makes you bold to go on and on and on. So if a person were to really want to be spiritual, not just religious, they would say to themselves, how can I use my religion, my spirituality to make my life better and to make the world a better place by teaching these same principles? I guarantee you, God does not tell people to strap on bullets, around their vests and walk into a place and load them up and shoot people, or to strap a bomb around yourself and go into a place and blow people up. I can pretty much be sure that God doesn't say that you should hate somebody and love their head off, or you should look at someone and say your skin color is not the same as mine, so you're not as important as someone who's of this same skin color as me, or you speak a different language, so therefore I'm gonna come to your place and try to make you a slave and make you speak my language and live by my laws and put you under my thumb. I don't think that. I think that we're all children of God, no matter where we live and what we do and how we speak. I think we're all God's children. And so the thing I want to bring out today is if you look at the word father as source, then who is your father? Who is your father? The source of what you do comes from what you put yourself into the environment you find yourself in. So if I find myself for hours and hours sitting in front of Facebook, that's my source. That becomes my father. And all that I do is to please that attitude. So all day long I'll be looking and trying to find things, and then I'll be posting and looking. Or if my God is television, I'll be just spending hours looking for shows, one after the other, just sitting there and watching all these shows. And most of the shows are going to be about violence. And so what's my attitude? The world I live in comes from the attitude of I want to get myself not just entertained, but you get educated by what you put yourself into. And so if we want to live our best lives, we need to find a source. Always find a source that sustains us, gives us energy. And that could be either on an educational level, on a fundamental level of just entertainment. Like, for example, there's a website that I watch every now and then on YouTube channel. It's called Dry Bar, and it only shows comedians who tell clean jokes. And so if I want to watch some comedy, I'll watch that. Because I don't mind a little bit of comedy. But I don't want to be influenced in a way where I have to feel like I've got to not tell that joke to somebody because it may offend them because it was too dirty. Like, the other day I happened to watch something for a quick minute. It was a woman, her name was Ali Wong, and all of a sudden she started getting really dirty, and I had to turn it off because I don't want those thoughts in my mind. I don't want her to be my source, you see. And so if you put yourself into anyone's environment, you're saying to that person, feed me, because I'm going to sit there and let you basically dictate how I feel about myself and about others based on the way you react. And you think that's not a thing? Watch it Fast and Furious, and then get into your car and drive home. You'll change how you drive. Okay, just saying that. So it's the same thing with watching pornography, listening to music that's raunchy and full of vulgarity, eating bad food, talking to people about things always down, and everybody's is on this side of the aisle and this side of the aisle. Everybody's against each other. There's no cooperation. You'll start to feel differently. And it doesn't mean that you can't live in this world, no. But it means that you can walk past things and not be affected by them. You can walk through things and not let them attach themselves to you because you're trying to find a source. And so that young man, I think he was convicted that day that we weren't there to put down his religion, but we were there to basically show him something that was different that could help him in his life, because we were actually in a halfway situation. So anybody who was there at this event was a prisoner. They were getting out at some time, and some might even be on work release. But all of them were under the law of incarceration, and they could not leave. So this person being a Muslim or a Catholic or whatever did not keep them from doing something that allowed them to not be able to be free. They were put in jail. So what I'm saying is that if someone comes to you and they have something that is real, that is going to be helpful, that is going to give you a sense of freedom from the stress of having to deal with ordinary things like um, people's opinions about sex, people's opinions about law, people's opinions about politics, people's opinions about how you live your life, then listen to it. Because because if we were to follow what the Bible says to go into the world and make disciples, it means that each one should teach each other, teach another person to live by God's law. And so in any place you go, there should be a person who is understanding God's law as they're doing their job, as they're driving the bus, driving the car, teaching children, being a student, being the head of a company, being a secretary, being an actor, being a dancer. It doesn't make any difference. The things that we're supposed to do are for everyone. And when people choose not to do that, well, then they're taking on a different source. And I do believe that the words in the Bible, the laws, the things that are laid out make sense because they're there not so God can feel good by himself. It's like if the entire country, the United States, was gone and the only person left was the president, well, he's just a person because you need to have people to be president of the people. But if you don't obey God's laws, it doesn't take away God's, you know, position. You're just going to have to fall back in line at some point, or wish you did. And so, if you're someone who is sickly, overweight, if you're broke, if you're uneducated, a lot of times because you didn't follow a law that was given. And the law of education says study to show yourself approved. Okay, and so if you go into an office and you see a lawyer or you see a doctor, they studied, they passed a test, they're approved, and now they can do their task. That's the law. It's the same thing with life. When you bring a child into this world, you have to teach that child the ways to live their life so they can get the best of their life, not so they can feel like they're being held back. You are their source, but what is your source? Well, if God is my source, then I'm going to follow his law. And if his law works for me, then I'm going to happily tell you that you can also do the same thing. So I think when they go to church, they should be taught to study. Whenever I go to church, I always carry a notebook. Whenever I teach my classes in the prisons, I always tell the students, write down things that I say, take notes, because it's a personal experience that you have to study and understand, because these are principles, they're laws, they're precepts, whatever you want to call them. But if you don't live by this, you end up wishing you did. And I guarantee you, anyone who is so hard pressed and so callous to say, well, I do what I want to do and I end up in prison, would hope that their children who are outside don't end up where they are. And if they do end up in the same place, they're highly disappointed. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Hit the notification button for more content. and watch again. Till next time, this is John from Life Academy, wishing you all the best. Have a great day.